Many beginner calisthenics athletes want to learn how to do moves like this, and like this. But how? In this video, I'm going to be explaining why you should be prioritizing intensity when training for advanced calisthenics movements. Before I continue, I need to define what I mean by advanced calisthenics moves and what I mean by intensity. First off, advanced calisthenics movements. Advanced calisthenics moves are moves that require continual training to unlock and maintain, and are moves that are limited based on the athlete's strength. Movements such as the planche, the front lever, the one-arm pull-up, and the Hefesto are all great examples of advanced calisthenics moves. They're great examples because they're compound calisthenics moves. They require multiple muscle groups. They require direct training to unlock and maintain. You can't learn the planche, you can't learn the Hefesto without actively training towards it. And they are all movements that benefit greatly from high intensity training. Now to decode what I mean by intensity. Intensity is how difficult the set was based on rate of perceived exertion. For those wondering what RPE means, it basically is a imaginary 1 through 10 scale used to rate the difficulty of the set. So 10 is the maximal intensity. You couldn't have done another rep. You couldn't have made the progression harder. You couldn't have added more weight. But the lower numbers, 1 through 4, meaning they're very easy, you could have done a lot more reps, a lot more weight. Now that I've defined intensity, I'm going to define frequency and volume, and I'm going to demonstrate what prioritizing intensity over frequency and volume would look like through the use of motion graphics. Frequency is how often you train a specific movement or a specific muscle group, and volume is the total workload per session. I want you to imagine a bar chart where on the y-axis you have your recovery, and on the x-axis you have volume, frequency, and intensity. You start out with 100% recovery, and you spend your recovery on volume, frequency, or intensity. A balance spread would look something like this. And as far as your weekly training regimen might go, it might look something like this. This is an upper-lower split where you hit each muscle group twice per week. This plan has a moderate frequency, a moderate volume, and a moderate intensity, and it's great for beginners because it does a good job of balancing strength and muscle growth. Now we're going to take a look at what an intensity-focused training program would look like. In this program, you might spend 70% of your recovery points on intensity, 20% on volume, and 10% on frequency. As far as what this would look like in your weekly training, you might do a 1x a week full body split, so you'd have a very low frequency. You'd only be doing a few sets per muscle group per week, so you'd have a very low volume, and that would allow you to spend most of your recovery on the intensity, so you would have a very high intensity with each rep and a very high intensity with each set. So to put it simply, volume is how much you do, frequency is how often you train, and intensity is how hard you go. And all three of these factors are competing to eat against your recovery, to eat at your recovery. So with that being said, why should you be prioritizing intensity over frequency and volume? To help us better understand why, I'd like to introduce the principle of specificity. The principle of specificity states that the adaptations you get from training are specific to the type of training you do. To help you better understand the principle of specificity, I created a specificity chart which is meant to help visualize and help you understand how the principle of specificity relates to this video. This chart ranks exercises based on how conducive they are to contributing to a specific calisthenics strength move adaptation. The better the exercise is at contributing to your strength goal, the better it will rank on the chart. The strength goal example for this chart is the full planche. First up, we have the overhead press. The overhead press is a bent arm vertical pressing exercise, which means it strengthens the front delts. Stronger front delts equals a stronger planche. Next on the list, we have the front delt raise. This is a straight arm horizontal push, and it has a more similar movement path to a planche raise, which means it has a more specific strength carryover. Next on the list, we have the planche lean. This emulates the body posture of the full planche from the scapula activation, the scapula protraction and depression, and it's fully scalable to the full planche. All you have to do is just progressively lean further and further forward, and you'll unlock the full planche. What do I rank even higher than the planche lean? Well, that's a discussion for another video. Hopefully this chart helps you visualize the principle of specificity as it relates to training for the full planche. That might seem really complicated and convoluted, so I'm going to do my best to explain it simply. Basically, if you're trying to learn a new move like the planche, your training should emulate that. From the joint angles in your shoulder, to the load placed on your body, to the core engagement, the more you can emulate your strength goals in your training, the more you adapt towards your strength goals in your training. So, advanced calisthenics moves are highly intense. You should make your training highly intense. If your training is highly intense, that means you have to compromise on your volume, your frequency, or both your volume and your frequency. So I hope that clears things up, and I hope that helps you understand where I'm coming from in this video discussion. Now that we've established why intensity is so conducive to reaching your strength goals, I'm going to tell you step by step broadly what you should do, and then I'm going to go into more detail. So in broad terms, step 1, figure out your goals. Define them, write them down, be as articulate as you can, be as descriptive and objective and as measurable as you can with your goals. The more descriptive you are, the better. Step 2, figure out what you need to do to reach your goals. Do your own research, experiment, figure out what works well for your body, look into a bunch of gymnasts and other calisthenics athletes who can do what you want to do, and do what they did to get to where they are. And then step 3, execute your plan. Follow through with it. Do the training, put in the work, and get the results. It's really that simple. Now I'm going to tell you what you can practically implement into your training in order to get the results. Prioritize intensity, but also ensure you have adequate volume and adequate time under tension to stimulate strength adaptations. You need to be able to control your body through a full range of motion in order to get your body to adapt to being able to do the more advanced movements. Prioritize dynamic, compound calisthenics movements. Movements like the pseudo planche push-up, the assisted one-arm pull-up, the tuck front lever row, and the pike push-up are all great progressions to get you stronger. Train in the 3 to 5 rep range. Keep rest periods in between sets long. 3 minutes or more is best. Allow for as many days rest in between training sessions as needed. Your body needs to rest in order to adapt. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone in order to grow. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to challenge you. In order to do something you can't do, you have to try and do something you can't do until you can do it. If you guys made it this far in the video, be sure to click the like button, comment what you want to see next, comment what you liked in this video, and subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified. I'll see y'all in the next episode.